Opposed?
Okay, I'd like to call the September 7th regular meeting of the Police and Fire Commission to order. Let the record show all commissioners are present. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our regular meeting of August 3rd, 2017. That was in your packet of information. If there are no questions or changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wanzak,
Second?
seconded by Commissioner Shaw. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. We have nothing new to report. Report from the chiefs. Since we have police action going on later, Chief Litton, why don't you go first?
Fair enough. Just a few things. We still have a recruit that is still off on medical leave. We do not have a conclusion to that yet. It's the same individual as last month that we talked about. I'm hoping that the doctors will have some information for us here very shortly. I guess we'll just be patient until we do, so we've sent them to our own doctor, and we're just waiting for that report back, so. Hopefully it'll be positive, and we'll move it on the thing and get them back on the line and get it working again, so.
Chief, just a question, is it recruit, when you say recruit, is somebody that's in that process, is that workman's comp then, or is that some other type of insurance?
It was not on a job injury,
Okay,
so it would not be a workman's comp.
Okay.
So he's not just being.
It's just on an administrative leave right now, so
okay.
that's where it's at. So we're hoping to get it back. It's finished very high on our list. See what the doctors say, so hopefully by this time next month, we'll have a definitive answer on what we're doing. Just some informational things, the 9/11 Memorial Stair Climb, which is nationally sponsored by the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation, will be at Lambeau Field on Saturday the 16th, starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. They raise funds for families that have lost both volunteer and career and everything, that have lost loved ones in the line of duty. I think it's $35. They get a T-shirt, and then they're doing the equivalent of 110 stories. That's where the highest level they think that the NYPD got to before the towers collapsed. So it's become a national event. They're doing these around the country. This is probably the fastest growing one and will potentially end up being the biggest one. Started out with 500, we're up to, I think they're up to 4,000 registrants already
Wow.
this year. So something to see if anybody's interested in going over there. I'm going to be out of town for it, unfortunately, this time, but Rob Gottman will be there doing the introduction and the speech. So if anybody wants to go just see it for 10, 15 minutes, let me know, and I'll look you up with Rob. It's a pretty cool, somber thing. So they put a picture out of all the NYPD guys, or FD guys that passed in that, and everybody gets one of those pictures, and they clip it on, they ring a bell, and they walk the whole stadium bowl. It's pretty good.
So this is 4,000 just citizens.
Firefighters, citizens, anybody can sign up for it. Pierce Manufacturing out of Appleton sponsors it, fire apparatus manufacturer. They sponsor it, they do all the advertising and marketing for it.
Do they all like hard checks before they start?
No, anybody can come. In fact, people fly in from around the country for these things, so it's really kind of a very, and people come from all over the state and the Midwest, and they come and do it, so it's really a very cool, this will be the 4th year that it's gone on, so very fun event.
Go, but there'd be another doctor you'd be talking to.
I was gonna say that if you need
Another doctor.
Need the rescue squads if we can.
Exactly.
MWTC, their public safety facility, they have installed a completely brand-new burn tower over across from the Botanical Gardens, if you're familiar with it, where the Botanical Gardens at. So it would be on their very far east side of their campus. They have spent upwards of $1 million, I believe, on this thing for a state-of-the-art burn tower. There was talk of them moving it out of the city at one point, and then they asked me to support their referendum. And I told them the condition was that they would keep it in the city, because obviously we send our people there and keep them on duty and in service. So they're having the ribbon cutting for that on October 9th at 11 o'clock. Again, invite any of the commissioners that want to go to that. Just let us know. We'll give you all the directions on where to go. That's a really good day for us because it is state-of-the-art. There's going to be a lot of different kind of training scenarios that we're going to be able to do there. And we've got a really good exchange of services agreement with MWTC, so it doesn't cost us anything. We provide instructors for them for their paramedic program, and we let them have ride time with us. So in the end, it shakes out that basically it doesn't cost us anything, and we help them out as well. So pretty happy about that. The hiring process for Fox Valley, the next hiring process, I'm expecting a call from them anytime in the next week or two to get the results. We'll comb through those and do our initial shakeout of that, and then I expect that we'll probably do our initial interviews sometime mid part of October with our command staff, and then I think the commission can probably expect that hopefully in November. Try to avoid getting past Thanksgiving and into the holiday season if we can, just because I know that there's a lot of things that go on, and I know that we all are busy and volunteer with time, so we're going to try to avoid that if we can. So. And then lastly, we have 12 members of the fire department that are on the Wisconsin Task Force 1. Essentially, it is our technical rescue folks that go and that are trained to a much higher level. They get specialty training throughout the year. There's a potential for 5 of those people to be deployed in 2 directions. One direction would be down in Florida this next wave, because many of the task forces, most states have at least one task force, some of them have 2. Ours is a fairly new task force. So potential for those 5 to go down in Florida here in the next couple of days, so we don't know about it yet, but to kind of put us on a pre-alert kind of thing. There's also the potential for some of them to go out west to the wildfires, so if that should happen, I'll certainly let you guys know who's going. So that's all I have.
Any more questions for the chief? All right, very good, thank you.
All right. I'm going to skedaddle out of here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, Mr. Kevin. Take care, chief. Thank you.
A couple updates from the police department. Overall crime is down 9% compared to this time this year compared to last. Property crime is down 7% and violent crime is down 19%. Those are fantastic numbers. Very proud of. There's a lot of variables to attribute to those numbers. There's not just one single thing that we're doing at the police department to make those numbers the way they are. We talked about this at the police department, what we attribute that to, and when we fast forward a year from now and crime is up 10%, people are going to be screaming, the high heaven. So, present day, we're doing great.
So what do you attribute it to?
Personally, I think it's our community outreach, all the community programs, our fact that the officers are in the neighborhoods, making those contacts. A lot of us go to community meetings at night, doing that. We're getting a lot of buy-in from the neighborhood associations. I think there's a good working relationship with the GBNLC, all the presidents. If I were to point to one thing, I think it's that. And the second thing is the hard work of every man, woman in that building. Giving it. These are tough times at the police department. I think no one will hide from that. But the current environment and the way the direction that the Chief Smith is providing is the right direction. Some people just don't understand the whole story, and that's for them to get over and to learn. So, and that will come. So, transitioning into the discipline is basically almost meted out. All the officers have received their discipline. Now they're starting to serve their suspensions. The night shift investigation, the second branch, the second tier involving the supervisors and their involvement, I think that is just beginning. From speaking with Captain Balza, and they have to re-interview the victim again. So Officer D'Antoni is being interviewed again, and then the supervisors to follow after that. But as far as all the officers, they've received their discipline. The incident on Admiral Court in the end of February with the traffic stop, that has come to the conclusion. You'll see a lot of that come out in the media now because we have certain timelines to meet once the investigations are concluded, and people have already put in open records requests for that and everything. Those will be released to the media. the hurdle with that, just so that you guys are aware, is redaction. There is, you know, the stack of paperwork for one incident is just enormous, and we, as a department, and our record staff have to make sure that everything that's appropriately redacted, so it doesn't expose the city to any risk. So expect to see that in the near future. Chief Smith had put out a message yesterday on our Facebook page about his stance on immigration and the recent decision to end DACA in 6 months, the Deferred Action of Childhood Arrival. In basic summary, Chief Smith's direction to all of us is the role of immigration enforcement is that of the federal government, not of local law enforcement. We're in the business of criminal activity and reading this community of crime and disorder, and we put that message out. We attended a meeting last night at St. Willibrod's Parish. They have a very strong Catholic Hispanic following, and we said that to the attendees, which I'd estimate between 100 and 125 people there, and got applause. That was something cool to be part of. But there is a lot of fear. There is a lot of hesitation because everybody's got questions, and a lot of people, we just don't know the answers of what's going to happen. So I think part of our job, our job is really, being a police officer is really pushing that black and white every day, responding to calls, being the best service you can. But the other part, I think, is calming the fears and relaying people and trying to install in them that we're here to help them. And I think we're doing it. And I think that's the reason why some of these crimes are done. What I forgot to mention about crime, retail theft is still our biggest nemesis. It is just, we're doing anything and everything to stop these retailers from losing their merchandise. So Shopko, 216 South Military, 13 of the 19 retail thefts last week. Part of it is because they hired a loss prevention officer, and that officer there is working. So good for him for working.
Kevin, does this include internal theft, like theft by employee, or is this all external theft?
External, all external.
This is okay.
I would say a lot of it is because a lot of them don't have enough employees. There's days you can't even find a clerk in some of those stores.
Right.
And
Right.
so if there's no clerks around, people are probably just saying, welcome.
I tail him out of there. Knock on wood, I don't think we have any internal theft. God, no, I hope we don't. So, no, that's all external theft.
Okay.
There's been some crime sprees recently of some graffiti on the west side, spray painting some very inappropriate things on people's cars. Detective Steffens got some intel, got some names, talked to those kids, and those kids spilled the beans. And they were helped us gain intel on the second group doing it. So those cases are solved. So that's very good for the community to provide some closure to that. We still are actively looking for the east side thieves that are stealing the lawn ornaments and the decorative balls and the lights and stuff like that. Last I heard, we're up to 34 incidents on the east side. And then that's coupled with the 31 incidents of people reporting that their house got hacked. So there's a strong correlation that those two are related. The suspects are related. We have ruled out the fact that the people down on the west side who did all the spray painting and graffiti are not connected to the lawn ornament and the hanging. So
that's probably like just for fun, young people.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's very traumatic. It's very traumatic for the
Yeah.
70,
Victims.
80-year-old victim
Yeah.
who comes out and sees that and
Yes.
we have a lot of good one officer helped a lady wash her car or try to wash her car off, stuff like that, the feel good stuff, but it's still, you rationalize it as if that was your mother or your father and they have to go through that, it's like, oh my gosh, I can tell you that there's, Captain Florence is working, that's his district, he's working on trying to solve that, trying to pool his resources with his community policing officers to develop some intel. I believe that those cases are signed out to detectives, or the group of calls, to try and find the people responsible for it. The last weekend was the Bring Your Own Five, the basketball games that we hold in Fisk Park that came to an end for the season. Another great success. We had an anonymous donation of $2,500 for that program, and we were able to buy a lot of food for the last event. And we also handed out 15 $50 gift cards to the boys who came regularly, so that they could buy some new basketball shoes. So it was a pretty cool event. Hope to do it again next year. In fact, we will do it again next year. But the police department can't take all the credit for this. That's Sharon Harper, Pastor Green, and Terry Cook from Divine Temple. Again, they're the heart and soul behind this. They are the driving force. I don't say we're tagging along, but we're right there with them. And we're going to talk about hiring here in a second. We have another officer who had resigned on the 15th, next week, Monday, September 15th, to take a job with the Schwabenon. Last numbers I heard as of Tuesday, we're down 11 officers right now. With anticipated retirements at the end of the year, we could be down 23 officers. So there is a lot of work being done as we speak about that. And with the backgrounds that you have here, we are working 6 other backgrounds that I have not come to completion yet to provide to Chief Smith. Of those 6, and I requested another 3 backgrounds today to get those going. So we're in a perfect world, we hope to hire a group of people in October, a group of people in November or December to stagger them so that the field training program is not overwhelmed. And again, a group probably in January, February. We have another hiring process this Saturday, September 9th, at NWTC. If you want to come out and see what an applicant pool looks like or what the physical agility test is all about, you're welcome to do that. That runs basically from the physical agility 10:30 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon at the gym at NWTC. I'm hoping for a strong turnout. We had 231 applications for police officer. Of the 231, I believe 183 were invited to take the written test. I'm sure some people dropped out by now. So the number always goes down the closer to the test date. But sadly, if you're going off statistics of the past, if you invite 183, you'll be lucky to get 90 people to come that show up on the written day. So the number just keeps going down, and I wish the number would stay at the high number. But there's a million reasons why people don't show up. But the continuous hiring, the continuous processes of processing these applications and the mode we're going, we're going to be doing that for quite some time. There's going to be a lot of interviews coming up in the fall, early winter, midwinter. So I know that probably means a lot more work for you guys, but Chief Smith has made this a priority, and understandably, and we've got district captains doing backgrounds now, so the workload is being dispersed so that more backgrounds can be produced. And when you do see some of these backgrounds and they seem relatively short, it's just because there's a deal breaker. Once you get to the deal breaker, we're done. And you'll see some of those, maybe not so much in this group, but they're coming. Since you got a lot of backgrounds, we got the list here from Jen, and just for a million reasons, we just didn't get to the list immediately, and a lot of the people have already taken jobs, and that's why you see a lot of people say, I took another job here, so we just remove from the list and we move on. So the good thing is we are going through this list. We're almost through this list of certifiable candidates, and Saturday we'll start a new process and get a new list with some probably PFC interviews early to mid-October.
With the, you said you had requested 3 more backgrounds. How many people are still left available to you to have backgrounds? Is that the end of the list?
No, I have a list here. So I can give you the. 14. So I have 14.
In addition to those 3?
Yes,
Okay.
but
Thank you.
the only hurdle, for lack of better words, is the 14 people that I just counted. They're not certifiable, so that means we will have to pick, of those 14, how many people we want to sponsor through the academy.
Gotcha.
Kevin, with that and with the fact that we've lost some just because of timing and they've gone to other jurisdictions, might you want us to do a meeting to review backgrounds prior to the October meeting?
Yes, and I'll work with Jen to see, I don't know the exact, I don't know that for sure yet, because with all the people doing backgrounds and everybody's got different schedules, I don't wanna just bring one background to you. I wanna bring,
Yeah.
like 4 or 5, so it's, it's not, wasting your time. Like, when HR sent you the packets this week, and you got that, and then on Wednesday or Tuesday, you got another packet from a CSI, that was just because more backgrounds got done, and I was trying to basically squeeze them in before this meeting. So,
But given
but yes.
our regular meetings, if you don't have huge attendance from the public, so
Yeah.
we can flex those if we need. So if we need to meet a week earlier or something like that, we can.
Yep, and I, that's the goal, and I'm just trying to put another collection of backgrounds together
Okay.
that are approved by Chief Smith. Now, I'll say a prayer because, if we recommend 4, I hope all 4 make it through the polygraph, medical, and psych. We've had, some bad track record as of late for people just not making it, or they'll go to the polygraph and say this, this, and this, and I'm like, why didn't you tell me in the beginning, So, we desperately need bodies, the candidates that Chief Smith approved, I would do the same. So, it's, but keep in mind, just because we're in so-called crisis mode, we're not lowering the standard.
Mhm.
There is, Chief Smith's been very adamant about that, and I say no to a lot of people before they even gets to the chief's desk. So the standard is still high, and it will forever remain high. There's a lot of people that want to be police officers in the community, but there's not a lot of qualified applicants to be police officers. So good thing is we got 183 invitations. I'm hoping for 90 to 100. Hopefully we get 70 people out of that list, and we start all over again.
I just came from a religious leaders gathering, and they were really appreciative of the statement about DACA.
Yeah. I have a contact at East High School who's translating in Muslim, and he's also going to hook me up with a Hmong translator. So as soon as I get those 2 translations, I'll post that on our social media. It's on our Spanish Facebook page. Natalia has been great. She is a good asset to the department and that good connection to bridge the two police and Hispanic community together. And judging on that, if you know anybody in the Hispanic community that wants to be part of the program called Building Bridges, that is like a shortened version of the Citizens Academy for the Hispanic community. And I believe that starts in a week. I got a lot of media inquiries on Chief Smith's message. We're not a sanctuary city. That's not for me really to answer. It's very simple. We are not out there checking people's legal status. There's a lot of comments on our Facebook page because of that. And regardless of people's perspective, if one gets arrested, that's the sheriff's department's job to contact ICE, not ours.
Any other questions? Warren, on behalf of the commission, you want to check out that physical agility test at TC?
I'm all over
Okay,
it.
all right, we'll do that.
I did it, I ran up the stairs backwards again.
All right, well, with that, we're on to item 5, consideration with possible action on review of patrol officer candidate. The commission may convene in closed session pursuant to sections 19.5, paragraph 1, sub C and F, Wisconsin statutes, to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The commission may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 19.85, paragraph 2, Wisconsin statutes, to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wanzak,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Roloff. All those in favor? Opposed? We're in closed session.
You started.
All right, while in closed session, we reviewed 13 candidates, 5 of which voluntarily requested to be removed from the process for a number of reasons. Typically, they've taken other jobs. There were 4 that the commission chose to stop consideration in the process, and there were another 4 that we chose to continue in the hiring process, and we rank ordered those candidates. Next agenda item is consideration of possible action on the voluntary removal of patrol officer candidates. Those were the 5 we discussed in closed session that made their request that we remove them. And in closed session, we had the vote to accept those, to accept their voluntary removal. Next item is consideration of possible action on the budget status report and budget spreadsheet. Pretty vanilla, no spending since the last one, so no changes to any of those. So entertain a motion to receive and place that on file.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Schaaf, seconded by Commissioner Wanzak. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And there were no bills. So the date of the next meeting would ordinarily be that first Thursday in October, so we'll tentatively say it's that date unless the police department gets back to us and requests we do it earlier. So that would be the 5th of October.
It's your birthday? Cool.
And with that, it's the end of our agenda. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wozniak, seconded by Commissioner Roloff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?